Good morning, everyone. Welcome back to Tinker Tom. Today we're going to go over part three of our AI series on NotebookLM. And today we're going to talk about some of the tools and real case uses of this tool. And just as a reminder, NotebookLM is a bounded AI chatbot. And what it does is it houses and stores source material and then uses those source materials as reference for whatever project you're working on. So, unlike typical AI chatbots, which are very general in a sense and use the internet, NotebookLM is bounded by the sources you provide it. So, in a sense, keeps a binder of everything you want it to focus on and allows you to produce outputs based on those sources. So, less hallucinating and more narrowly focused on the information you want it to focus on. And so from that sense, what I wanted to do today was talk about how students can be using it. NotebookLM, as the name implies, sort of serves as a class notebook. And so I'm going to use two examples today to detail some of the tools and functionalities and how NotebookLM can sort of serve as a research assistant or a learning tool. So the two use cases I'm going to talk about is one from the vantage point of an undergraduate student. And in this case, let's say they are in a class on artificial intelligence. And then the second use case will be around a doctoral researcher who is investigating Olympic values. So on both ends of the spectrum for student learning, we have an undergraduate student seeking to learn and understand the material. And then on the doctoral side, you might have a student who's looking to synthesize and really analyze articles and information deeply. So we're going to get started by pretending we are an undergraduate student at University Beachside. And again, here's the landing page for NotebookLM. These are all the notebooks I've created. And today we're going to focus first here on PGLC 885, AI and Scholarship. So I'm a freshman at University Beachside, and I have just been given my syllabus and textbooks for class. So first thing I would do is create the notebook itself. There's a create button up here, but let's just hop in. First thing we're always going to do, we're going to add source material. So teacher gave us the syllabus. I can see the textbook is here by Holmes. We have our first week's readings. I have the spring syllabus in here, and I also have the first video of the week. So I started by uploading the syllabus because that way NotebookLM understands what the criteria for the class are. So it gives it some background information about what questions I might be asking and what information our professors might be looking for. I also uploaded all of our weekly readings as well as the textbook. So when it comes to the textbook reading, I could ask NotebookLM specific questions about what's in the text. So we could start. If I'm a freshman in college, first thing I'm worried about are due dates and will I miss quizzes? How am I going to learn all this material? So the first question I might ask NotebookLM, I'll uncheck all these sources on the side and only check the syllabus. So I can say, hey, focus on this article. And I'll say, what are the due dates for discussions and assignments in this class? Question mark. And so it's only going to go off of the syllabus I uploaded from the class. And NotebookLM will provide those dates. It'll read the information. It won't make anything up because I'm only telling it to go off of whatever's in that syllabus PDF. So the output, this is project 1. Let's do the face-to-face. Project 2, AI tools, week 10. Project 3, Advancement in Learning Challenge. We'll have an elevator pitch, week 12, March 27th or March 28th. So from the onset, I've already got a list of everything I need to keep track of. Now, you can save this note and reference it later on the side. So on the side here, you see master assignment schedule. So that'll save in the bucket on the right side, and I'll always be able to access that information. I can do the same thing. Let's say the textbook. Week 1, we have to read chapter 1 and chapter 2. I could obviously go into a chatbot like most other chatbots and say, hey, can you summarize this? And that's become a pretty basic tool in terms of what AI can do. But what's great about NotebookLM is it gives you a different suite of options of how to present that information, how to synthesize that information in the studio panel on the right. So for example, With the textbook, the Holmes textbook, I could ask for an audio overview of the chapters. So for example, I could say, hey, let's get an audio overview. Please summarize chapters 1 and 2 from 1 and 2 from the text. And so rather than spitting out a summary via text, you can actually have a conversational output that provides the summary in sort of a podcast format, for example. So not everyone has the time to, let's say, sit down and read some of the material. And so if you needed a summary, you could always put your headphones in, hear the audio overview, and it'll take a minute to generate. Now, along the same lines, you could take some of the readings from class and you could ask for a quiz. You could ask for flashcards. So what I've already prepared was one of our readings were AI definitions, and there was 60 or so definitions there. So I said, hey, can you make me some flashcards based on that source? So the flashcards button here, I just pressed it. It's generating flashcards over here. And I've actually already done that. So what it looks like is, let's say week 1, we're going to have a quiz on all these definitions. NotebookLM went ahead and created flashcards for me, 62 of them, to test myself. And so we go here, term algorithm. It gives you the answer. You can say, oh, I missed it. I'll get it next time. Okay. In the context of AI, what is the primary purpose of an algorithm? Provides blah, 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 blah. Got it. Cool. Moving on. And that's a really neat feature, especially if you can imagine as an undergrad, you're in more of a test-based class. This is really handy for saving you that legwork, developing those flashcards yourself. So the tools here on the right side are very useful, especially as you're trying to learn. NotebookLM really supercharges your learning ability when it's incorporated into your workflow and saves you that cognitive load of remembering due dates, taking the time to make flashcards, needing a quick summary of the information so you can refresh yourself on the material. All the tools in the studio on the right bar here are really useful for synthesizing and analyzing that information. So that was a good use case for an undergrad student. I wish this were around when I was still going through my undergrad programs. But it'll be interesting to see how the learning curve shifts, especially as professors move syllabi around to incorporate or avoid AI. But this is a safe and grounded way to really dig into the material that you're learning, help students understand it better, and then overall just have different ways of learning the material. So the second use case I want to highlight would be from the lens of a doctoral researcher, for example. So I will be the example in this case, and my dissertation revolves around the Olympics. So I've created a notebook here. I've already uploaded my 15 sources. And you can see I already have a long chat history of us discussing some of the material, some of the sources that I've provided. But we're just going to start fresh here. I've unchecked all of the sources on the left, and I'm going to highlight my research proposal in chapters 0 through about 5 of one of the textbooks I'm reading from. And all I'm going to ask it is, for starters, let's say I'm getting started on this project and, where do I even start? So the first thing I'm going to ask it, I said, based on my research proposal, which is checked here, and the chapter sources, what constructs should I highlight in my literature review? So very foundational question in terms of getting the research started. But what NotebookLM will do is look at all the material I've provided and say, okay, here's your research proposal. It knows what questions I'm trying to ask. It knows what constructs I'm interested in. And so based on everything I gave it, it has it has created an outline of what I should include in that literature review, including headers, as well as subheaders and different constructs I should be focusing on. And so this is a pretty standard task for any chatbot. What I do appreciate about NotebookLM is it's grounded in my research proposal. So It's not hallucinating ideas based on my behalf, and it's not grabbing for things that don't exist. So it's very grounded in the research I'm trying to do. So this is a great place to start in terms of my dissertation research. But another thing I like to do, which helps me understand some of the material, especially when there are larger texts or multiple texts that need synthesizing, is to ask for an audio overview. Uh, the the AI has a built-in layering system where it can summarize and then convert that into a podcast style output. And what it really is just, two hosts, just like a radio talk show, discussing the material that I'm asking it to discuss. So if we look on the right side here, I actually have a deep dive audio overview already based on these chapters here. And we can look at the prompt I gave it. So detail the development of value surveys in the last 100 years based on your book chapters. And we're going to give it a listen. There is an opportunity to be interactive, meaning you can pause the podcast at any point, ask a question, say, hey, what did you mean by value structures in Rokich's research? And they'll respond to it and then go back into their podcast. So we'll give it a quick listen.
Sure, if we look at Allport's reflections in 1968 on his work from 1935, he described the concept of the attitude as the most indispensable concept in American social psychology. But an attitude is highly.
So I don't know about you. I get bored of reading things all the time. So having the opportunity for AI to convert it into a podcast or a radio show means I can go for a walk, work around the house and still be getting some of that synthesis. I would highly recommend for any type of student or anyone looking to superpower their learning to look into NotebookLM. Um, At the onset, it seems like just another chatbot, but when you're intentional about what you're learning and you have the source material to guide the AI, I find it extremely useful in directing your research or directing your learning and also exploring the topic in more nuanced ways. NotebookLM is a relatively new product with features coming out all the time as well as integrations. Hopefully, today's video has helped outline a few use cases. I am in the education space, and I'm sure this product and some of these methods can be used across other industries, for example, business and reading reports, summarizing data, as well as entrepreneurship. If you're bootstrapping a startup, NotebookLM is a good way to act as sort of that assistant who can handle menial tasks, sift through data, for example, go through customer feedback, etc. So the possibilities are limitless, in my opinion. I hope this video is helpful, and we'll see you in the next one. Thanks for being here.